When I first began my journey with yoga and mindfulness, I imagined that one day I would reach a point where anxiety and pain no longer held sway over me. I thought I would become totally equanimous. However, over the 25 years I've spent working with my own mental health and supporting others, I've learned something different. While I am certainly more able to manage the confines of my mind than I was 2 decades ago, I've accepted that anxiety will probably always be a part of me at some level. And through this acceptance of who I am and the reality of my mind, there is a lightness that has arisen. And it's highlighted for me that mental health is not necessarily concomitant with eliminating suffering. I wish that for you, but sometimes it's about developing the tools and the awareness to navigate the troubles we experience. On this Mental Health Awareness Week, I would like to share with you some of the insights that have been important for me in my own mental health journey and that I have offered to others through this time that have also been useful to them. There are a list of points, so I'll start with number one. The teaching of Buddhism holds true for me that there is suffering, the first noble truth, and the second noble truth, that suffering arises from desire, and most notably, desire to avoid suffering. The teaching is not referring primarily to the desire for material things and not having them, but rather the belief that we should never experience hardship, or we should be different than who we are, which creates more suffering. The idea that we need to be somebody else, or that we should smile or be happy all the time, is a recipe for unhappiness. Life will inevitably bring pain. And the notion that we will become impervious to all things is a myth created by self-help books. I feel like I've read them all. I probably haven't, but that's my experience. Unless we somehow become enlightened, and I wish that for you, suffering will always be part of the human experience. Number two, facing suffering is, ironically, one of the most important ways to lessen its hold. But when struggling with mental health issues, it is almost impossible to sit present with a tormented mind. I know that firsthand. While I once thought meditation was the best way to train the mind, and it is indeed a very powerful tool, I also understand that it is easier to meditate after calming the nervous system first. And that might be within a given session of meditation, or we might work with calming our nervous system over a period of time before beginning the practice of meditation at all. As the Sin Sin Min, a famous Zen Buddhist poem, notes, to seek mind with a discriminating mind is the greatest of all mistakes. Essentially, it's saying to really find wisdom and insight, we cannot use the analytical, judgmental mind, and we need to drop into another element of mentation. And to do that, we often need other practices first. Number three, there is no greater long-term tool for working with the mind than the breath. Medication may be needed, and therapy can help uncover the corners of the mind and provide insight. But breath, or as it's said in Sanskrit, prana, is truly life. I believe this physiologically, spiritually, and in every aspect of how I view reality. Through breath practices, we can alter what is happening in the mind. And as we now understand the brain as well, training the mind through time-tested breath techniques directly influences the brain's neural pathways, shaping how we think, how we feel, and react to stress, not just in the moment, but over the long term. By working with the breath, we can also transform our energy, improve our health, and even change the trajectory of our life. The last part might seem lofty, but actually, I think it rings true after all of these years. I was once on a meditation retreat, and this Buddhist nun said to me, all that you need to know about uncovering the layers of the mind and finding peace is within the breath. And I thought, wow, that's an exaggeration. Now, I feel like that was a statement of fact. You see how that lands with you. Another point, the breath is a permanent and ever-present indicator of the state of mind. If we're upset, the breath quickens. If we are calm, it slows. The same is true of the state of our body, and we can use our insight into what is happening with the breath to check in with ourselves and then maybe choose to do something differently, whether it's a practice or our lifestyle. And finally, breath is the ultimate object of attention in meditation, whether we're trying to stay focused as meditation or cultivate mindfulness. And there are many traditions throughout the world that use the breath as part of the development of the mind through meditation. Number 4, there are no quick fixes for mental health issues. I wish there were. There are certainly ways to ease the intensity, such as medication, which I believe has value and should not be undermined by the spiritual community. But transforming the operation of the mind takes time, dedication, and patience. And that can be hard because it might mean that we're sitting there with the unbearable. However, it is noted that the Buddha said the greatest austerity is patience, meaning that staying with the mind that is suffering is one of the hardest things to do. And he noted that being with the mind is so challenging that it is the crux of the spiritual path. And his teachings were centered around helping people engage with their minds through various different reflections and meditation techniques that met each person's individual needs. At least that's what the texts say. And although now many practices are codified, we can also have individual ways of practicing that meet the unique manifestation of our own mind in all of its color and all of its ups and downs. 5, although we may wish to be free of mental health issues, and I certainly fall into this category, this may not be possible. However, we can learn to be with the mind and use it rather than let it control us with constant rumination. 6, there is no one way for a person to improve their mental health. Truly, working with the mind requires knowledge of many techniques and the wisdom to know when to apply them and how. And 7, the narrative we create around emotional suffering greatly impacts how we experience it. While I cannot say whether life has a specific purpose or karma exists, I have found that perceiving life as meaningful and viewing my experiences part of my personal development has helped make the toll of suffering easier to bear. I've also found the belief that my own pain has given me the capacity to help others imbues the things that I've gone through in my life with value and not just burden. I choose my meaning and I decide there is purpose. But I don't hold so tightly to this belief that I cannot adapt it as my understanding deepens. Belief, like the placebo effect, can be powerful, regardless of the objective truth behind it. So search within yourself. Choose a story that aligns with your own life, speaks to you with integrity, and empowers you rather than blames others. And let this story be the foundation through which the world holds you up. At the same time, be open to updating your narrative as you grow. The key belief is that belief matters. While life might have dealt us an especially tricky and even torturous hand, we can shape our mind with the stories we tell ourselves about it. When done with the intention of reclaiming our power, fostering wisdom, or cultivating resilience, this is not spiritual bypassing, but an active, transformative process that allows us to engage more fully with life. I hope this is helpful, and I'd love to hear what has been useful to you as you've journeyed through your own life and worked with your own mind. Be well.